Welcome to Heart, where we break the silence, bridge the gaps, and bring real conversations about mental health to the forefront. I'm your host, Leigh, founder and director of The Long Short Road. Today's show is sponsored by Kaplan Interpreting Services. When every word matters, trust Kaplan Interpreting Services. From weddings where vows cross language barriers to therapy sessions and medical visits where clarity means everything, Kaplan ensures that no message gets lost. Businesses and law firms rely on us for accurate, compliant translations that protect and connect. Whether it's Italian at a ceremony or Spanish in the workplace, Kaplan bridges the gap because every word counts. Call 833-547-7770 or visit www.kaplaninterpreting.com to learn about how Kaplan Interpreting Services can be there for you. Before I share my wonderful and eye-opening conversation with Sam Eaton, who's today's guest, I want to take a moment as we're approaching Pesach, it's coming up. I want to take a moment to extend love and compassion and, so to speak, see everyone who is struggling and going into this holiday with trepidation and overwhelm. The Yamim Tovim are a beautiful time. They are full of so much joy and family time and tradition. And at the same time, especially Pesach, can be a very triggering, challenging, and difficult holiday for people. Being with family, being alone, recognizing how toxic relationships are, the sense of isolation and sadness, mental health challenges might rise to the surface, especially with it being a 3-day Yom Tov this year and there being so much time together or alone. So for anyone who's going into this holiday saying, oh my gosh, I cannot do this, I do not want to do this is too hard for me. First of all, I just want to tell you, I see you. And I'm sorry that you're in so much pain. And it is really hard. And you're not crazy for feeling this way. It's valid. It can be challenging. I also want to stress this point that if you are struggling on Yom Tov, you do not have to do it alone. You are allowed to pick up the phone and call for help, a suicide prevention hotline, a crisis service, a mobile crisis unit. You can call Zaka that has a 24-hour hotline, including Yom Tov and Shabbosim. You do not have to do it alone. Obviously, use your discretion, speak to a competent Rav who understands the nuance of halacha when it comes to mental health. What I know from my experience of having worked with hundreds of individuals in crisis over the years, if you are struggling, don't wait until you're in extreme emotional pain to pick up the phone and ask for help. Okay? I'm sending love and compassion to all of you. We should see the revealed miracle of redemption from our internal and external exiles, from the psychological and physical pain that we are in as individuals and as a community, that we should see real, deep healing in this holiday that expands and extends out into every other aspect of our lives. My guest today is Sam Eaton. Sam is an author, speaker, and founder of Recklessly Alive, a suicide prevention organization sprinting towards a world with zero suicide deaths. Sam has spoken at over 200 events throughout the United States, sharing his story of battling depression and suicidal thoughts. Sam holds a master's degree in educational leadership, which he utilized to create the Recklessly Alive Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to bringing mental health awareness to young people. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'm really grateful to have you here. So in your book, Recklessly Alive, What My Suicide Attempt Taught Me About God and Living Life to the Fullest, you share a very deeply personal journey about your experience with depression and suicidal thoughts. So what inspired you to open up about your experience, and how have people responded to your story?
So I never intended to tell anyone. Suicide isn't exactly a fun party topic to share with people. But I was a public school teacher. I taught music in the suburbs of Minneapolis for 12 years. And about 2016, we had 4 deaths by suicide in our school district. We lost 2 students, a teacher, and a principal who all took their own life. And with each death, I would sit at my desk and I would just cry because I knew deeply what that felt like to feel that hopeless, to feel like you're in that much pain and you have no other options. I had only told a couple people that I had attempted about 4 years before that. But I just felt like this push in my chest, like I had to do something. I watched my affluent community really have no idea what to do or say. We didn't add mental health support. We didn't have any sort of vigil or any sort of additional anything. It just was like we just kind of felt like we stuck our fingers in our ears and said, oh, this isn't a problem. This isn't happening here. And as I researched, I quickly found that this is a pretty big problem everywhere. We lose close to 50,000 people a year in the US. That's something like one person every 11 minutes. So this wasn't just my community. This was a much bigger issue. And in that research, I learned that talking about suicide doesn't make it any more likely that someone will attempt. It makes it much more likely they'll seek help. And so once I read that and saw that the research supported that if I start talking about this, I'm not going to do any harm and I actually will help people. I said, you know what, I can do the hard work of learning how to share this story. It took a lot of therapy. It took a lot of practice. It took a lot of start and stop. There was many times that I just wanted to give up. I don't want to be known as the suicide guy. Like, who wants to repeatedly talk about the worst day of their life?
Mm.
And yet, I have seen how powerful it is just getting survivor stories out there and how important it is for, especially for young people, to be able to see what life is beyond the pain that they're feeling in that moment. So the response has been mostly positive. A lot of people didn't really know what to do or how to handle it. I've lost friends about it who've just said things like, I just don't want to hear about it. But in the end, what I gained was a level of authenticity that I didn't know that I needed. I've been able to just relax into this is me, and I'm not what's happened to me. I'm not the trauma. I'm not the past. I'm trying to heal. I'm doing my best, and I'm going to do everything I can to help other people feel that as well, feel comfortable sharing, feel comfortable getting help, and knowing that they're not alone in whatever they're facing.
Wow. I I have chills. Because I know so many people personally and many people who listen to this show who feel a similar feeling to how you felt sitting at your desk crying after the suicide deaths, thinking, that you could resonate and know how deep this pain is. And I am so grateful to you for your honesty and vulnerability right off the bat because you're right. We talking about it saves lives, and getting survivor stories out there helps people feel less alone, and healing happens in that community environment, even if the community is not, local to you. Um, so you founded Recklessly Alive with a very bold mission of creating a world with zero suicides. Can you tell us a little bit more about the initiatives and the programs that your organization has provided to support that vision?
So our biggest thing that we do is we host these suicide prevention events we call Just One. They're community-wide suicide prevention events. Often they're held at schools or at communities. Sometimes they're in churches or religious buildings. But our piece, we have a hip hop artist. I speak and educate a little bit about depression. I share my story. We also laugh. There's door prizes, there's music, and then we invite local nonprofits and local resources to come as well so people can get help right in that moment. So, on average, from the time someone starts experiencing negative symptoms of their mental health to the time they get help is 8 to 10 years, which was my story. I saw those symptoms looking back at about 14, 15, and it wasn't until 23, 24 that I was attempting and that I finally broke and started getting help. So, our piece is we're really working to shorten that time frame and first of all, just educate people. Depression, mental illness, those things are hard to spot. There's lots of those people are experts at hiding it. They don't want to feel like a burden to people. And two, it's just they don't even know that something's necessarily wrong with them or how common it is, or that they could even get help. Not to mention the stigma around getting help. I just read something like 3 out of 4 men in the US are resistant to seeking therapy. So we have a lot of work to just normalize this conversation and equalize it to what it is. It's like people's brains can get sick. That's one of our main messages. Just like your body can get sick, your brain can get sick too. They've done scans of the suicidal brain, and actually, in those scans, parts of the brain in the frontal lobe don't light up the way that they should. And part of that controls empathy. So, literally, these people's brains aren't functioning the way that they should. They can't put themselves in other people's shoes, right? Just like somebody has the flu or they have cancer, like we would tell them, go to the doctor, get help, right? But when someone struggles with mental health, oftentimes they're told, stop being lazy, cheer up, just get over it, instead of like, hey, actually, your brain is sick, right? And we need to get you connected to some medical help and some things that are going to help you feel better. So I cannot handle doing the crisis care. It's too hard for me to be the person who talks to someone when they're in crisis, but our piece is connecting them. It's sharing the stories. It's allowing people to open up, to give them the permission. We've really found that vulnerability is contagious. When I started sharing my story, I can't tell you, it's almost impossible for me to meet someone who doesn't have a connection to mental illness or suicide in some way. And so we give them that gift of, this is okay to talk about, here's some education around it, and then we connect them with the help so that they can take the next steps right away.
Wow. There's so many nuggets there, but I just want to tell you that when you said that most people from onset of symptoms until seeking treatment is between 8 to 10 years, my eyes bugged out of my head. Like that is, I mean, wow. That just speaks volumes, I think, to how much work we have to do to make this issue a stigma-free issue.
Absolutely. And even
What do
someone
you
like
think
deeply in
nurse?
this work, oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Say someone deeply in this work, like it took me a very long time to even just be willing to try medication, right? It's like there's so much stigma around getting help for our mental health. I was advised not to seek a diagnosis, something like having depression, it can disqualify you from the army or things like that. And it's amazing that it's framed that way, because I have found so much power in knowing that my brain works a little different, and power in knowing, hey, this is actually kind of why you feel this way, and this is what research has shown might help you and has helped other people. So I've never felt ashamed of it. In fact, I felt the complete opposite, where I feel like, oh, this gives me some answers on why I just wanted to sleep for 3 or 4 days, and I
Right,
can get some tools to get through all of that. And it doesn't make me less than, it just means I need a little help.
right. Yeah. And that I think that's a very powerful reminder for anyone who's listening who might be feeling like, okay, everyone else might be able to heal, but I'm broken. You're not, right? And we have there's so many tools out there um to help us heal.
Absolutely.
So you've spoken at over 200 events throughout the US, which is that's amazing. And so I'm curious, when you go into different communities, do you see common themes? Are there common questions and concerns people have that they bring up about mental health and suicide?
Yeah, when I was at my darkest, I had a really negative feeling about humanity. I really thought that people just didn't want to help, or um, that they shamed me for my mental health. And I really have found, having talked to thousands and thousands of people, that most people would help if they knew how. And so for me, it's our next steps in, breaking down the stigma around this. It's twofold. It's one, those of us that struggle, we need to be brave and have the courage to ask for help, to open up a little bit, to not wait 10 years, to seek a little bit of help. And maybe that's just talking to your primary care doctor. That was my first step, of just mentioning it there, seeking therapy, and then just keeping an open mind and figuring out, what are some things that might help me. And then the rest of us as a community need to learn how to be better people on listening and supporting, and being a good person to tell. Some of the first people I opened up to about my mental health, they couldn't handle it, and they didn't handle it well. And I don't shame them. I don't have any guilt about that. They were afraid. They weren't educated on what I was going through. Either was I. But all of us can be better about learning how to connect people to the help that they need. So like one of the things I hear a lot from caregivers is like, well, how do I bring it up? like, if I'm worried about this, how do I bring it up? And they actually analyzed 75 million text messages from the suicide prevention line 988, or you can text 741 741. But they analyzed all these messages and they found out the best way was an expression of care. So if you're worried about someone saying something like, hey, sometimes when people go through a breakup, they might have thoughts of death or dying. I just care about you and I want to check in and see how you're feeling.
Right.
So when you express it that way, it makes it less scary. And if they're like, they're not feeling that way, you've kind of opened up that communication and become a person that's like, you know what, this topic is okay to talk about. There are other people who have thoughts like that, and then that's okay. And then the other thing that I get a lot is, how do you tangibly support someone? Like you get to that point, and I've had people in my own life, it's like they see that you're struggling, but they don't know what to do. So the biggest things for me is, number one, just stay away from saying things like, well, let me know if you need anything, right? We want to take the burden off of them. They're already struggling, maybe just to get out of bed or take a shower. So they don't want to feel like a burden. So instead of asking or putting it on them to ask for help, offer or just do something. So like I have a shared note with some of my closest people and it has specific things they can do. Like literally it's like my order from Chipotle, or just like very tangible things that they can do that they can show me that they care about me. They ask things like, hey, do you want to just go distract your brain? Sometimes I don't want to talk about it. Sometimes I don't want to be there. And then the last thing is I encourage you to ask, instead of asking people, how are you, find a way to get more information. So one of my favorites is like, ask, how are you doing 1 to 10 today? And let them rank. Instead of just like them saying fine or okay, they might say I'm a 3 today. And that gives you way more information about where they're at. Plus, over time, you can learn like, okay, you were at a 7 the other day. What were the things that helped you be at a 7? Today, you're a 3. What are the things that are at a 3? And you as a caregiver, or you as a friend, you can start to see patterns that maybe they can't see with their sick brain. You can start to see the things that do help them, maybe the things that are not helping them. I mean, you can just get more information. So truly, I believe most people would help if they could. And so we're just trying to give people more tools on how to help and how to show us that love that they want to show, but maybe they're just afraid, or they don't know how.
Yeah. Wow. That's so powerful. And that reminds me personally to give people the benefit of the doubt that genuinely they do want to help. Most people want to help and don't know how to. Um, so I want to turn our attention now to the people who are listening who may be struggling. For anyone who's listening who's currently struggling with depression or thoughts of suicide, what are some immediate steps that they can take to seek help and find hope?
Yeah, a lot of suicide prevention work didn't help me at all. Like I feel like I see a lot of the same messages over and over again that are like a little bit too cheery for my very sad brain, and they're just a little cliche, like it's okay to be okay. And a lot of the suicide prevention work that I've seen is often done by people who haven't experienced it. Maybe they've lost someone or they just care about it, but they haven't experienced it themselves. And so, first of all, I just anyone listening who maybe you feel like that, there's nothing wrong with you if you feel that way. That's kind of how I have felt, is that not all the suicide prevention stuff that's out there helps me, but there are a few things that really really do help me, and that's first and foremost is don't let your brain talk in absolutes. So push back. You don't just have to accept the thoughts that your brain say to you. Your brain can lie to you. It's actually very good at lying to you. So just when your brain says, I will never be happy, interject that with something, yet or but, right? I am not happy today, but I'm going to do one thing that helps me feel better. Or I don't like the way I look today, but I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to do something. Take some of that power back so you're not just sitting and feeling powerless against that. The second thing would be just stay curious about your mental health. Do whatever you can to have the mental flexibility to say, you know what, there's whatever 8 billion people in this world, so your healing journey is going to look completely different. And just be willing to try. Just try one thing at a time. Maybe you're going to try group therapy and you're going to hate it. It's going to be the worst experience of your life. And instead of shaming yourself or being upset, be proud of yourself that you tried and you found something that doesn't work. Journaling helps a lot of people. I hate journaling. I feel like I'm just like saying the same terrible things to myself over and over again. So instead, I tend to speak into a note, or I go for a walk, I move my body, I get outside. Those things are way more helpful for me than just sitting and ruminating on the thoughts. But journaling helps a lot of people, and all of that is okay. All of that is okay. And then the final thing is just try to shift anything you can do to shift away from shame. I love working with the question of what happened to me instead of what's wrong with me. For a long time, I just felt like I was wrong, that I was made wrong, that I was created wrong, that I was just broken, that I wasn't fixable, all of that. And that was just another way that my brain really kept me in a cage and kept me in a prison instead of saying, you know, what happened to me? Oh, I watched a caregiver when life got really hard sleep for 3 or 4 days. So it's not surprising that in my 20s, that's how I coped when things got really bad, is I would just sleep for days. And
Right.
so actually that's not the most healthy thing. And I don't have to shame myself for doing that. Instead, let's just be curious. Let's ask, okay, where did that come from? How is there a better way? What can I do about that? And that curiosity is really just key to finding your way through it all. It doesn't make it easier, but it does help us stay open to finding those things that are going to help us be our best selves and create that happy and peaceful life that we are capable of, even when it doesn't feel like that is possible.
Mm. Amen to all of that. Um, what helps you, being in the giving end, right? The giving side of things, right? Giving through Recklessly Alive and through the foundation and through all of your incredible work. Um, what helps you stay hopeful and helps you stay motivated to heal for yourself? Like, what keeps you going?
So it's funny because I still struggle. Like, I still struggle with suicidal ideation. I've been on this journey for 20 years. One of the best things is just to remind myself that those suicidal thoughts don't actually mean that I want to die. They're just my brain's signal. It's a well worn path that's saying, hey, something's not right in my body, in my mind, in my spirit that needs addressing. So once I can start looking for those replacement thoughts, and instead of seeing that as this scary thing, instead of again staying curious and saying something like, oh, I'm overwhelmed, or I feel trapped, or I feel like I can't see a way forward through this. That level of distinction, that the suicidal thoughts aren't something to be afraid of, that they don't actually mean that I want to die. My pain is just higher than my ability to cope. And so either who are the people that I need to ask to help me cope better? Where are the places that I can go to get that help? Or what are the things in my life that I need to change to bring that pain down? And so it is not an easy process for me. It's included a team of people of different types of therapy, different types of experimenting with exercise, with eating and nutrition, different types of medication. It's been a long journey, but I just cling to this idea that I don't have to believe everything that I think, and that my brain gets a little sick sometimes, and that's okay, and that like there's just so much help and hope through it all, even when I can't see it.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sam, for sharing that part of yourself and for being um, open about the reality of your continued lived experience. I think sometimes, I don't know if you've had this experience, but this has definitely been mine, that people forget that because we're in the helper position, that we also need help, right? Like, I've been running the long short road for almost a decade, and people will say to me like, "Wow, your mental health, like, are you healed? Is that why you can do this?" And I kind of laughed because I'm like, "No, I'm not done healing. I have healing to do every day." Um, but one doesn't have to, they're not mutually exclusive. Being the helper and helping and needing help.
1,000%. I have my second book is coming out in May of this year, and it's called Healing Out Loud. And it has helped me so much to just be like, you know what? I do not create content. I do not speak because I have it all figured out. I am speaking up here so that other people have a friend in the trenches, right? I'm not up here telling you this is the perfect way to do it, because believe me, I don't know. But
Right.
here are some ideas that have helped me. And I don't have to have all the answers, but just sharing my story, being vulnerable, being authentic, showing up as myself, flaws, mess, and all, allows other people to be that way too, and allows them to grow and to heal. So just like you do, it's like we all are out here just healing out loud and trying our best to share some of the tough stuff so that we all know that we're in it together and that we're going to find our way through this crazy world.
I love that. That's beautiful. So as we wrap up, my final question for you is if you could share a message of hope and healing for anyone who's listening right now who may be struggling.
Yeah. Gosh, there's so many things. There's so many things I wanted to say. First, I guess when I am at my absolute lowest, I do everything I can to just focus on today, get my brain to stop ruminating about the past. We can't change the past. That's where my depression really drives the boat, is when I'm thinking about past painful stories or trauma. So let's shift our brain away from that, and let's not let our brain get too far out in the future and worry about things that aren't happening that we don't even know yet. Focus on what you can control today. Set a 10-minute timer and do something for 10 minutes. You can get yourself to do something. Sometimes when we're at our lowest, we have to force ourselves to do something that we don't feel like doing. We call that opposite to emotion sometimes in the therapy world. It's we have to push past that thing that says we can't, and we have to just try. And after 10 minutes of going for a walk or cleaning a closet or something, if you feel like getting back in bed, that's okay. You tried something. But often it's just that initial activation energy that we need. So if you're out there today, you don't have to solve your whole life. You don't have to worry about what's going to happen. You don't have to worry even really about tomorrow. Just do a little something today that's going to make today a little bit better, that's going to make your life a little bit better. And when you do that every day, you start to get momentum back. You start to feel more like yourself day by day. You don't solve it all at one time.
Wow. Powerful. Thank you, Sam, so much for being here and for your time and for sharing your expertise and your wisdom and your vulnerability. I know that our listeners will really benefit from so many of the incredible things that you shared. Sam can be found at his website, recklesslyalive.com, and on Instagram and TikTok at recklesslyalive. Sam, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Heart to Heart. If you or someone you love is struggling, please know there is hope and help is within reach. Since 2019, the Long Short Road has been walking alongside at-risk individuals, offering trauma-informed programs, a non-emergency hotline, and a community that fosters healing. No one has to go through this alone, and we are here for you. Discover how the Long Short Road is changing lives. Visit www.thelongshortroad.com or email us at info@thelongshortroad.com to learn more. You can be part of this mission. Sponsorship opportunities for Heart to Heart are available. Honor a loved one, support your community, and help us make mental wellness resources accessible to those who need them most. Until next time, remember, love and connection are the greatest healers. This is Leigh reminding you, hope is here, healing is possible, and you are never alone. Together, we're walking this long, short road to a brighter future.